Exotics in Destiny have had a track record of dominance, but with so many in the franchise now, not all are made the same. For every Galahorn, there's a Rat King, and for some exotics in Destiny, they get the update treatment to make them better. I'm talking about you, Arbalist. Some exotics are so dominant and so powerful that they needed to be tuned back, and for better or worse, these exotics stopped getting as much use as they did before. Some exotics were nerfed so much that they kind of have no point being in the slot they were before. But ladies and gentlemen, there is one exotic that breaks that rule. This exotic will always be relevant, and this exotic just broke Destiny 2 again in the Season of the Plunder, to the point where it was disabled for multiple weeks. It's long overdue that we discuss the most powerful exotic in Destiny history, one that came with the most unique style of play that any exotic has ever had. Like and subscribe to this adventure, because today we discuss Anarchy, Destiny 2's most iconic exotic. I will be giving away a deluxe version of Lightfall with all DLCs to one of the first 100 people that listen to this ad read and download the free game Mech Arena with proof by clicking my link in the description.
Is your game so boring it's left your whole entire family snoring? Well, not anymore! Welcome to
Mech Arena, baby! Mech Arena is a fast-paced, action-packed mech fighting game with matches that end in 5 minutes to not drag out your time. With a variety of maps built for fast action, tactics, and a constant encounter, you're always finding yourself in the action. Mech isn't a reflex first-person shooter, but it's also not slow-moving either. If you needed a jumpstart to get into Mech, this month is huge. Mech is a new battle pass, a huge lineup of Oktoberfest events, and amazing prizes. This includes, in a non-ironic way, Boar, a new pilot. Mech's also adding controller support, which in my opinion is the best way to play third-person shooters anyways, and I'm looking forward to trying it out myself. Mech Arena is also completely free to play on Android and iOS right now. You can use my link to get a free starter pack worth $25, a Firelight skin, a Prodigy crate, and a Plasma Cannon 4 to help kickstart your game. And if you're quick, you can add me as a friend as well, and we can play sometime. So don't wait, let's just get it. Add over and good luck to the first 100 that try it out. I know I've said a million times by now that Destiny's best year was in Forsaken, and I really do mean that. Not only was there hundreds of hours to sink into each facet of the game, there was variety and creativity. Look at this. Then look at this. Look, it's not to rail on Destiny's seasonal content, but I think it just goes to show you how much Bungie had to care in the year of Forsaken. It was a back against the wall year for Destiny 2 after a major drop off in players from the first year of the game. Bungie nailed Forsaken, and with High Moon Studios and Vicarious Visions, and with a whole heap of Activision money to spend in the brand new seasonal model of the game, the first season may still be my favorite of all time. Black Armory, a season we will be discussing at length on this channel one day, came with a controversial opening day.
It is intense and can be really fun, however it does suffer from a few minor design flaws that ultimately make it feel underwhelming when compared to Escalation Protocol on Mars or even the Dreaming City's Blind Well.
You find out it's 625 light, and even the most experienced people that have pre-made groups are having a horrible time for it, and as of recording this video on launch day, I don't think anyone has got past the second wave.
There was no shortage of angry Destiny 2 players in regards to the Volunder Forge's debut. And unless you'd been playing Destiny 2 during Forsaken, you'd be underleveled going into the Forge. Bungie's idea for these was to be akin to year 1 of Destiny 1, the Forever 29 climb, where, just like then, you'd need to grind a ton of hours to play the endgame content. These seasons had a climb to reach and keep leveling, and there was no catch-up mechanic to assist your journey, so some players felt cheated out of what they paid for. But I think it was fine since it was a challenging event that players had been asking for, and this season, for the price of $10, was the biggest bargain I think players would ever see. So what does this have to do with the topic of this video? Well, in response to the Forge's difficulty, Bungie lowered the level requirements and the difficulty of it. The power climb became easier, plus some of the best weapons, all from Forges, would come into play, with the raid coming that very same Friday, making this change necessary to the story of our exotic. Speaking of that Friday, the very same Friday Black Armory was released, a raid was scheduled. If you think that the King's Fall raid date change to a Friday was something new, well, just know that back then, raids would come out any day, it seemed, from the same day of the season to a full 2 weeks later. I think this was due to the lack of excitement for racing compared to today, but Bungie at the time underestimated how many people love the idea of the raid belt and the 24-hour emblem to showcase. Getting back to Scourge of the Past, this was the raid I deemed creating absolute anarchy. And it's not just because of today's exotic, but it's because of how many teams couldn't raid race due to DDoS attacks and an exploit in BattleNet's join feature introduced that very same week. Now, this is also another problem that was propped up recently with code injection in the game. Something I may make a video on one day soon, but it's not good to say the very least. Point is, the raid was wild due to this, and our exotic today. When Tier 1 officially beat the raid for World's First, though, this happened.
Let's go. We don't have someone in the other. All right, there we go. This is it.
We don't need it. Just
Let's go.
I got it. Not everything.
GG.
Perfect. Good freaking job. Be ready. There might be something else.
Oh, this is the chest we saw
the
earlier.
window. Yeah, it's the window.
I got a.
Let's go! Good shit, boys.
Yo, go order it.
Everyone received the exotic Anarchy, and for reasons that only math class would learn later on, Bungie doesn't give RNG exotics to World's First teams anymore. But Anarchy was Tier 1's first, and this exotic absolutely crushed everything in the game.
He is dead. He is dead.
It still kills him. It still kills. What?
Light up.
She's just standing there and taking it. Look at the ground. Oh my god.
Evan, Gallahorn is the most powerful exotic of all time. Come on, man. I hear you, but listen, nothing can ever beat an exotic that allows you to do so much damage and then swap to something else to do even more damage on top of that. Gallahorn was the best exotic in a time where there wasn't as much going on in Destiny, and it was reliant on its own damage. Anarchy is the best because it takes advantage of the player's intuition to use a bunch of other weapons and abilities with it. But I want to know what you think. Is this the most powerful exotic of all time? Hopefully the rest of this video can help illustrate my point. Even if you're on the side of saying it's not the most powerful exotic of all time, it's definitely the most unique exotic I believe Bungie has ever created because of its layered design. Not only do you have an electric sticky grenade launcher that ticks, but you can draw around it to create traps. You can swap weapons with this out to maintain damage while using something else. And it has some weird characteristics no other exotic has ever had. Do you want an example? Look what happens when you stick Kali the Corrupted with this exotic. I got it! Anarchy has some weird features to it, like most bosses only capping at 2 Anarchy sticks for damage. But Argos, the Eater of Worlds raid boss, could take 3 sticks if you hit the tail. On Taken Blights, Anarchy can only use 1 stick or it just won't do damage to the Taken Blight. For the Arms Dealer boss, you could even stick the floor for damage. And for you sick fucks, you could summon demons with this.
Subscribe for 1,000 years of bad RNG.
Anarchy would quickly take over the entire game, and still has its hooks in a lot of the strongest builds in the game. And there's a reason for that, the swap. Anarchy in its first year would be the cementing piece of the strongest build Destiny has ever seen, and probably will ever see. I'm not talking about bugged melee builds. I'm not talking about Fatebringer, Black Hammer, and Galahorn. I'm not talking about anything with stacking. Trust me, I've seen the solo of Golgoroth. No, I'm talking about pure weapon damage. And this exotic, stacked with Mountaintop and Recluse, were everything players wanted in Destiny 2, especially during the Forsaken era. Auto reload Well of Radiance and a lot of buff stacking together on top of these weapons were just so strong that Bungie made activities like Reckoning designed to have enemies push you off the map instead of killing you, because they knew you weren't going to die with these on. Anarchy would completely laugh at the success of Izanagi's Burden, the other most powerful exotic we have seen from Black Armory, and have a video coming out about soon. If Anarchy was this electric, you'd think it'd get nerfed, right? Well, not everyone had Anarchy, and it was extremely rare, just like any other raid exotic not found in a quest. Either way, I think the reactions when players finally got what they were after is worth $1 million on its own.
Hey, let's go! Anarchy!
There you go, dude.
Oh, thank God, I got it.
Anarchy was so strong that it would find its way into a new meta even after auto reloading went away, and even after Mountaintop was gone. In fact, after Mountaintop was gone altogether, Anarchy found a home in one new place, one that required a hospital build to pull off. Hot swapping was a simple input via swapping while sprinting forward, bypassing the wait time of changing weapons and allowing for more damage. This was the new meta ever since Bungie buffed slug shotguns going into Beyond Light. But before shotguns were this strong, the world's first team of Luminous was already using hot swap snipers for their kill on Taniks in Deepstone Crypt. And with Deepstone Crypt having the best slug shotgun in Heritage, with its perk combos, and the Philo or first and last out being a part of the other swap, players could now complete the puzzle and just keep Anarchy on bosses while breaking fingers to make these swaps happen with slug shotguns. This became such a powerful combo that the Templar was able to be killed in mere seconds with these swaps. Bungie didn't like this at all for the game, but I did, and I can tell you that having a tech like this I think is good for the game, since it encourages players to reach deeper for the max amount of damage instead of limiting their potential. Either way, agree or disagree, Bungie came in with the nerf to hot swapping and slowed it down for everyone. Anarchy would still remain, but the fun potential of boss melts was a little bit more limited now. This was also the season where doing any grenade launcher damage would allow for a 30% debuff, so sticking Anarchy to Atheon, especially for World's First Raiders, was incredibly important. Anarchy, however, would also be nerfed soon after this change was made, with the following season reducing its total magazine reserves and ammunition from 26 to 16. And reducing its damage versus bosses by a whole 30%. This should have been a gigantic nerf to make other exotics shine, and it did for a little bit, until the bugs were found. If you died with Anarchy in hand, you just did 5 times the damage. Anarchy was also recently bugged as a part of the other grenade launcher bugs to go with the most recent season, Season of the Plunder. Grenade launchers were supposed to receive a small damage buff, but someone at Bungie Fortnite default danced on the keyboard and smacked these stats through the roof to allow for stuff like this. Anarchy also had visual bugs like these for holding it out while the gun was disabled. I'm starting to think Bungie has hit the Bethesda levels when it comes to goofy bugs always in the game, but I guess it's a part of what makes Destiny Destiny. Anyways, everyone, that's it for this video. Enjoy some bloopers. make sure to subscribe and enjoy the legacy of Anarchy, Destiny's most powerful exotic of all time.
What did I do?
It's called being good.
You're not gonna find sweeping gameplay changes here. There's guns.
Time gate. Time gate.
That's all we needed.